All right, welcome back. Another episode of Heart of the Order, brought to you by thoughtsfromthebench.com. Boys,
What number episode is this?
26.
Is that the Adam Frazier?
Adam
Yeah.
Fraser.
Maybe.
The Adam Frazier episode.
The Adam Fraser episode. So it's funny that we bring that up, guys, because to give the listeners a little behind the scenes look. We were talking about the trade deadline a couple days ago, and we were talking about the Pirates and how they didn't really make any moves other than sending Jared Dyson, who has been here for 3 months, and they sent him to the White Sox, I believe it was.
Wade Boggs.
Huh?
It's the Wade Boggs episode.
That's more noteworthy.
But Brooksy typed in the chat, I'm surprised the Pirates didn't make any moves, blah blah blah, and he goes, I'm surprised no one came after Frazier. And I go, who are you talking about? Todd Frazier? Todd Frazier got traded to the Mets. And I was like, wait a second. Adam Frazier. We're talking about Adam Frazier. That's how far away my mind is away from the Pirates at this point in time.
That's
fair.
They haven't really had too much excitement this year other than tonight is Wednesday. So last night, Tuesday night, Brian Hayes made his MLB debut. But we'll get to that, as I'm sure you guys will want to talk about it. It's probably the most exciting point of the season for the Pirates. Just to get the night started, I mean, how you guys doing? What's going on? How's the day going? How's quarantine for you still? Are you guys getting back out there? Sports are coming around soon.
Yeah, it's going all right. It's now like the weather's turning into fall. Like this past weekend was like very fall weather, and fall is my favorite season. As much as I like the warm weather, I like hoodies and sweatshirts, and that's coming. And especially, what's that about?
I don't know. I was just kind of feeling it, but it looks really small in the picture, so.
I imagine it's bigger in real life.
Or whatever there is left of it.
But yeah, and football's coming.
Yes.
Next Thursday, kickoff.
We're getting there. Another step closer to normalcy.
Speaking of fantasy football, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we were talking about names earlier tonight. What's the best fantasy football team name that you guys have ever used?
I've ever used?
Yeah.
So I have one that I use. Because it's like a brand name.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you the best one I use. I'll tell you the best one I stole, and I'll tell you the best one I made up. And I'll try not to spend a lot of time on each one. But the best one that I have used is more like a brand name. I just Off in Church. You can never beat Off in Church.
Okay.
So.
Oh my God. I was like, Off in Church. That's
never
good.
beat Off in Church. So I've had that name. It's one of my longest standing leagues. I won with that as my name, and was like, I'm never changing it ever again. So it's a brand name. In that league, shout out Dungeon Masters. The best one I stole was from that league, Buffalo Copter Force.
Buffalo Copter Force.
It's called the Buffalo Copter Force. And as I tell you, the best one I made up, I'm going to look up the definition of this. But that also came from the same league that I'm in, Off in Church.
It's funny. You can see like Brooksy like reciting it in his head, like under his breath, trying to figure out if it has any secret.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's hilarious. So my friend got off Urban Dictionary, as he got a lot of his names from there. But I stole it because, and I have it for my dynasty name because it's hilarious. So on Urban Dictionary, if you type in Buffalo Copter Force, the definition is an attack and rescue force made up of buffaloes that fly helicopters, usually in support of other animals and humanitarian efforts. They are known to operate in great secret and have never been confirmed. I think it's hilarious.
I love it.
I think it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So because it's like a city and it's like Copter Force. I don't know. Like
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, it is.
I might have to steal it, Dre. I'm not gonna lie.
That's fine. Just know that I stole it too.
That's the city right there.
So the best one that I made up is this year, Washington fantasy team.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Maybe that's what they'll name their actual team.
Who knows? But I made that one up. It just came to me, and I had two people in that league say, you're probably not going to get credit for it, but that's a great name. And I was like, I appreciate it because it's not out there in a wavelength. So you heard it here first. Washington fantasy team, patented by Dre.
All right. You got good ones, Brooksy?
So the 2 years that I actually did like a pun, because I would do like puns of the players, and like I would steal them. I wouldn't like be able to actually think of them myself. But the 2 years I did it, both the players got hurt. So it was like my like top pick. One year it was maybe like 2010 or 11. It was Adrian Peterson, and he went down. Then I did Le'Veon a prayer. He went down. So like ever since I'm just like, nope. So I just have to think of something that's not funny or clever, and I just roll with it because it's bad juju for me.
Yeah. I usually try to do a pun off a player on the team. Like last year for the Thoughts from the Bench League, I had Baker Mayfield was my starting quarterback for probably like 2 weeks maybe before he shit the bed, and my team name was the Danger Zone. He waking up feeling dangerous. But then
that makes sense.
And then a couple years ago, I placed second in the league, and it was during Game of Thrones season, and I had rather than a girl has no name, a team has no name. I went with that one. That's one of my favorite ones, but got stolen in a couple leagues, so I'm not too happy about it. But yeah, guys. So we'll switch back to baseball here. We had the trade deadline earlier this week. Bunch of trades, bunch of teams making moves, couple buyers, couple sellers. I guess what was your overall evaluation? We'll just get a kind of a general synopsis of kind of what you guys thought happened. Obviously the Padres made some big moves. The Blue Jays shaped up the rotation. The Diamondbacks sold off some pieces. The Marlins were like buying and selling. It was kind of weird. They were kind of like in the middle. So I mean, Dre, let's just start with you. What was your overall evaluation? What do you think of like how things went down over the course of the trade deadline?
So my first initial thought is anticlimactic. And I understand that because it's a lot. There was, as we were talking about last week, there's a lot that really went into this deadline in terms of the hurdles that the GMs had to face.
Yeah.
Which is, where are you as a franchise in terms of, are you a buyer right now or are you a seller? And then it's like, okay, if you're a buyer, what do you give up? Bless you. What do you give up in order to get that piece to help you win? Or if you're a seller, which I think is more difficult, is what do you determine as adequate value for said player to be sold? So obviously the biggest piece that went was Mike Clevenger, and he went to the Padres. And out of all the teams at the deadline, outside of the White Sox, that was a team I expected to completely buy because of the fact that the one piece they were missing was a legitimate front of the rotation starter. And the fact that they got Clev, you couldn't have planned that any better. Yeah. And the fact that they did it and they were able to keep a lot of their top prospects was insane to me. Now they gave up a big package and they gave, Cleveland went with quantity as opposed to quality. But when it comes to that package, I believe they gave up their 8th, 9th, 11th prospect in there, according to MajorLeagueBaseball.com. But they were able to keep the guys like Mackenzie Gore, which is huge for them because he's a guy that they project as the top of the rotation starter. So there's that. They were able to keep their top catching prospect in Luis Campesino. I probably butchered the name, but he's their top catching prospect, and they were able to keep him as well. So, to me, that's a win. Like, when you look at that team, that's specifically a win. Another move I really like, though, is I really like them, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I was like, I don't know if they're buyers, I don't know if they're sellers, but the fact that the Marlins went out and got Starling Marte says, we don't know who we are, but we're gonna still take a stab at it anyway. You know, they went out and they got Marte. I'm pretty sure he's a rental. Might even have a team option, so they could keep him for next year if they want to, and then resell him for bring back a package of prospects that they gave up. I believe they gave up maybe I want to say 2 players to be named later. And you saw a lot of that within the trade deadline. There's a lot of mystery. A lot of teams were receiving or giving up players to be named later because, again, what do you determine as the value? So I'll say all in all, it was anticlimactic, but it wasn't because there weren't teams that, you didn't know where they are. And maybe it's due to the length of the season where there's not enough separation to determine actual buyers and sellers. But I think it was more because of the mystery. Like the mystery of where's the value? Like, what do you determine is valuable? Like, what do you think is a good piece? Like, who's your target in your return package, or what are you willing to give up in order to bring this piece in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
it helped that expectations weren't too high, just given everything that you just described and just the unknown of what everybody's dealing with. Like, I think I was surprised, not just that like the Marlins were the ones that made a move to like buy, but like Starling Marte was probably off the top of my head like the best, most proven bat that was traded.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that like that piece, if he was going to be traded, I'm like, oh well, that would be a team like the Yankees, maybe the Phillies, like a team that's like really like putting together a piece for this year. But I was shocked to see that. And then, the Padres are the obvious like big names of it. But I thought interesting team, just to get pieces here and there, is the Blue Jays getting Robbie Ray, the new Blue Jay, Ross Stripling, and Villar from Miami. Mm-hmm. So like they're in right now in the thick of it too, and it seems like they're just getting some pieces that have some control beyond this year. But expectations were hampered, and if anything, it was just for me being like, something more has to come from the Pirates, doesn't it? But like when nothing happens, I think it's more of a reflection of what the trade assets the Pirates had, how they performed so far this year. And if anything, it's just Cherington not taking a deal in this period of unknown when there's other times to make some deals.
I mean, it was kind of interesting. I mean, on the like the other side of kind of like the moves to the Blue Jays. I was kind of surprised that the Diamondbacks were out there selling. I mean, they gave away a lot of like key pieces. And they've been a team over the past couple of years that have kind of like always been into the thick of things when the playoffs roll around. I mean, they gave away probably one of their top pitchers in Robbie Ray. They gave away probably their best reliever in Archie Bradley to the Reds. They traded Starling Marte, who they had brought in at the beginning of the year in the offseason. So it was kind of interesting to see them kind of be sellers at the deadline. I mean, I'm not sure what their exact position is in the standings.
They're actually in last place.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a little more sense then.
No, but I know what you mean, because this is a team that in Arizona that you guys had in the playoffs. I know I didn't. I'm not saying that that's because I didn't believe that they weren't talented. I thought that they had a chance to actually compete.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
But for them to be behind the Giants to me is crazy in the division, because that's a team that, again, we didn't think had anything and to compete with. So for them to kind of just sell off their guys in Robbie Ray, Marte, Archie Bradley, especially Marte, because that's a guy that they gave up. I think, they gave up a good young package to get him, and Brennan Malone and Olivier Figueroa, young shortstop. So for them to just sell off and kind of bring some pieces back, I think it says that franchise completely underestimated where they were at the beginning of the year.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. What was your guys' favorite trade from the trade deadline? Like, was there one that kind of stuck out to you the most? Obviously, Clevenger is probably a big one. Starling Marte is probably another big one. But was there like a trade that kind of got pulled off that you guys weren't expecting, or that you like for both sides, or one side more than the other?
Just one that I was like, oh, like cool, like that will be a good piece for them and a team that I sort of want to see make a run at it this year and go against the big dollar teams. The A's getting Mike Minor.
Mm-hmm.
So even though Minor's like numbers this year are pretty abysmal, but going into Oakland into a pennant race and those things, I think the return was, nothing major expected. I'm pretty sure it was just like 2 players to be named later, but it's one of those, I love like thinking of the pitchers, like the Jay Haps of the like when he 5 years ago who like get a change of scenery and just like completely go lights out the second half of the year. And I think I would like to see the A's make a run at it, so I'm glad that they added a starter arm.
Yeah, and I will. I'm gonna come back to me, but I do want to say this. I thought that was weird. I thought it was a really good trade, because the fact that, like you said, the A's, they get another rotation piece, which is nice. And typically with a team like the A's, they've historically, when they've been good, they've been built on starting pitching. For them to get Mike Minor, I think is really good. But I thought that trade was weird because it's interdivision, and you don't see a lot of those. And I feel like we saw a lot more of those now than we have in the past. So, and again, that could be because you don't want to trade a guy in the division, but a lot of the teams outside the division, they, some of them weren't buying. So it makes sense. At least you unload a guy who struck out 200 guys last year, and now, if you're the A's, you're kind of ecstatic for 2 players to be named later. I'm curious to see what the package is going to be. There's players, but I do like that trade. But I got to think of another trade now because you actually stole my thunder. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents on that.
I'm gonna go with well, Dre finds his trade that he wants to talk about. I'm gonna go with obviously I'm gonna go to the Red Sox. I was hoping that they would make some type of move. They go out, they trade Mitch Moreland to the Padres for 2 prospects. I think it was the 16th and the 19th ranked prospect in the Padres system, an outfielder and a third baseman. Moreland is reaching, I think he's 34 years old. He's been a key bat in the lineup, but they're obviously not doing anything this year. They don't have the pitching to get stuff done. So it's time to kind of restock the system with prospects, build from within again, like they have in the past. I thought Kyle Bloom made a pretty solid move there. And it got some pretty positive reviews over the course of the past couple of days. So I thought that was a good trade for them to make. It was kind of one that stood out to me, obviously, because I'm a little Red Sox biased, but I thought it was a good trade.
Yeah, I think they're in a position where you have all those assets, and it's nice to get them shipped off or something to return.
Yeah. Dre, do you still need a little more time?
No. Actually, I'm going to stay right here. This one kind of flew under the radar, but I like the Oakland Athletics also. Somehow, some way, I don't get this at all. But again, the sneaky, let's trade inside the division, like kind of just flew under the radar. It's like, forget rivalries. Let's just take what we can get. The A's getting Tommy La Stella.
Yep.
That one flew way under the radar.
Yeah.
I love that deal for them. Why not get more bats? This is the A's. This is a team that I believe it was either Brooksy or Mac. It wasn't me. One of you two were like real big on the A's early in the season about how, don't sleep on them. And here I am snoozing away. And yet they are buying at the deadline, and they are doing it in a way that, to me, gives hope for every single small market team out there. Like, they're buying within division. They go get a starter who Texas thought was a frontline starter, but they go get a guy who can stir up a rotation in a 3, 4, 5 game series, and then they go get another bat and Tommy La Stella, who's having a stellar year. Like, and they add to that offense. I mean, you have Chapman and Olsen, who are the anchors, and Semion's been really good, and we know about, I don't know if he's doing it anymore, but Chris Davis, Mr. 247, 40 home runs kind of guy. I mean, that's what he's been doing, is he did it 4 straight years, which is insane. But to get Tommy LaStella, I think another piece to go into that lineup and help secure, help anchor it down within the division. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty cool. Again, flew way under the radar, but I love that deal.
Were there any that kind of caught you guys off guard, where you were like, what the, like, why are they making that trade? Like, were there any of those deals? I don't think there was, like, in my eyes, maybe like one or two, but like were there any that kind of surprised you guys?
I guess the surprising one for me was, again, the Marlins.
Yeah.
Just deciding to buy all of a sudden when they went after Marte. Again, you could say he's the best bat out there, but it's just crazy because I'm pretty sure that wasn't their only trade here. Yeah, because they got Jonathan VR, like they got him. Oh, they traded him and then got went out and got Marte. I just think that it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's strange. It's just like, I like seeing them active and I like seeing what they were trying to do, because when Jeter took over and they sold everybody, it's like, okay, they're doing a complete rebuild. But like, you see guys that are now starting to thrive in that franchise. Guys like Sixto Sanchez is up now, and he was one of their top prospects, their top pitching prospect. To see him up, but then to see like add to that core, I think is pretty cool. Like, so I mean, caught me off guard, but at the same time, like, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was sort of my answer there. But I also forgot that the Rays or the Blue Jays also got T1 Walker, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, they got 3. I know like Stripling isn't just like a starter. I know that he sort of is by pitching sexual, but they get like 3 like pitching names just to put in. Bam, 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 and like
Dude, what?
It's late. I'm tired.
Why, wait. Buy picture. Wait, what?
I know what he means, but why was that? Like, what was that? He means like he can either start or just come in and relieve, like, and it's a seamless transition.
Versatile.
Versatile.
Oh, it's been a long day. But
by pitching sexual.
Before I was rudely interrupted, but like that's just another deal. I was like, the quantity of deals in that case surprised me.
Okay. I was honest. All right. So I mean, like I said, I was kind of surprised that the fact that the Diamondbacks were sellers at that deadline. I mean, I'm not knowing where they are in the standings now. I'm not. But like when I was out in Arizona, I was really high on Archie Bradley. I got to be around him a lot, like, with school and everything like that. And, you see his personality out there and stuff like that. And he's got the big beard, like Eric Gagne in the past. And who was the guy for
Brian
Wilson for the Giants. And, he steps up in the wild card series the one year and he hits the triple to the fence when he's coming in relief and stuff like that. So, I mean, he was a guy that I never saw, I guess, leaving the Diamondbacks. So that was one that kind of surprised me a little bit. And it just kind of caught me off guard. But kind of fits into the whole selling prospect of, them. They got to trade away the top guys to, get some prospects back in. So, I mean, just kind of last question about the trade deadline, guys. But, was there a certain team, I feel like, I know the answer already, but was there a certain team that you feel like came away from the trade deadline as winners, put themselves in better position to make the playoffs and possibly win a World Series?
The easy answer is San Diego, but the other answer would be Oakland. I think obviously those two teams are the two teams that legitimately vaulted themselves and got better at the deadline and did it in a way that didn't completely hamper their franchise. Oakland did it in a different way by kind of getting some guys that are under the radar, and Tommy LaStella and Mike Minor, whereas the Padres took from a position of strength trading away their trading away, using their farm system to go get Mike Clevenger. And trading away guys like Cal Cantrell, and again, holding on to guys like Mackenzie Gore and just adding to their team now, but also adding to their team for the future, saying that, hey, our time is now and going for it. Like, I think outside of those two teams, I think those are the two obvious winners of the deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, the Padres also got Rosenthal, right? Just like another bullpen arm. Yeah. I think their addition of Clevenger with Lamet and
Paddock
and Davies, like that's like some decent. I mean, more than decent. Like that's very serviceable, like arms to go into a playoff series with. So I think they like recognize that and just like bulked up on a need, and I think that'll be without giving up anything that's glaring. So I think that'll be really cool to see how the rest of the season plays out with them in particular.
I like Clev in San Diego. I like what they're doing out there. I mean, again, he's going out there to be the ace, so it's not like – I'm not saying he wasn't the ace here, but Shane Bieber obviously took that away from him.
Yeah. I think I really like the moves that the Blue Jays made. I don't know if they're exactly like there yet with the division they're in, with the Rays, the Yankees, who we'll get to here in a few minutes. But like, I don't think the Blue Jays are exactly there, but I like the pitching they brought in with Taijuan Walker, Robbie Ray, and they made a couple other moves that that I was a big fan of, like Jonathan Villar. And like, I mean, you can see the kind of the pieces coming back together where, they might be able to make a run with the young talent they have. They might be able to make a run in the next year or two, setting themselves up for the future. So I kind of like the moves they made, even though they might not be there this season, but I think they kind of set themselves up for the future.
Yeah. You always want to, when you're a team like that, you always want to kind of, see where you're at. But at the same time, like if you can get a guy by low on and get him into your philosophy, you might be able to, revive his career. I mean, we've seen it here in Pittsburgh with guys like A.J. Burnett, Francisco Lariano, J.A. Happ, where especially J.A. Happ, who was acquired at the deadline and completely just was lights out to the point where, if he was you wonder where he'd be at the end of the season if he was on this team for an entire year. So, with guys like Robbie Ray, we'll see where they're at. But like he's going up there with their top ace. Well, not their top ace, but their future top ace in Nate Pearson. So we'll see exactly if we'll see what can happen up there, not just now, but for the future.
So yeah, it was an exciting trade deadline. We'll see how it kind of plays out over the next month or so as the teams kind of battle for playoff positions. But we also got some daily baseball news here. Last night we've kind of been talking about it over the course of the day, like what happened, like why did this happen? Still not sure exactly why it happened. But the Yankees and the Rays got into like a sort of benches clearing. I don't know if you even want to call it a brawl, because I don't think there were even any like punches thrown or anything like that.
No, I don't think there were punches either.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can even call it a scuffle. It was a sharing of strong words, I guess you could call it. Aroldis Chapman came in late in the game to close it out, struck out Mike Brosseau. But before he struck him out to end the game, he threw a 101-mile-an-hour fastball over his head. Tanaka had hit a raised batter in the first inning of the game. We're still not exactly sure, like, what kind of happened to cause it to happen. I mean, what did you guys think of this whole Yankees Rays? And they were going at it on social media, too. I don't know if you saw that, Brooksy, Dre. I don't know if you saw them going at it on social media either, but it was kind of pretty funny. So what did you guys think of, like, kind of the whole situation?
So I think that first off, this is I think it's sort of a byproduct of a rivalry that's been building since the Rays are now the only contender to the Yankees' throne. I think the Yankees are kind of feeling intimidated by the Rays because guys like Tyler Glasnow can just outduel their $30 million per year ace and Garrett Cole like it's nothing, which really sucks if you're a Pirates fan because you had those two guys at one point. Let's not reminisce on that, dude, right? Let's stick to the Rays and the Yankees. Okay. So the bottom line is this: is that I believe that the Yankees are shook when they see the Tampa Bay Rays, and I believe that their response is to act like, Bush League childish douchebags, especially with Chapman, is used to doing things like this because he's been doing his whole entire career. The fact he threw 100 miles an hour at a guy's head, honestly, I should be shocked, but like I'm not. Like he's done this before. He's hit Andrew McCutchen multiple times when he was in a Pirates uniform. You see it when he was in the division. Even when he was at the Cubs, he did shit like this. Like it's nothing new to me, but it's like, why is this? My whole thing is, how did he only get 3 games? Like there's clear, concise evidence of intent, and not only that, after you almost drilled a guy in the head after they won, they're out there talking shit, running their mouths, like to the Rays bench, and it's like, you won the game. Thank God you didn't hit somebody, but like clearly this shows your intentions right now and what you think of us. That's it. You're shook. You're scared. So, and I don't blame them because the Tampa Bay Rays are extremely good. So I think it's just a byproduct of a heated rivalry. But again, I think the bigger picture is that the Yankees are clearly shook when they see Tampa. It's like that could completely end our entire World Series shortened season run.
Yeah.
And I said this before, like the Yankees this year, they feel more pressure than they ever have before, and that's because if they go out and sign a guy in Garrett Cole, you have Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton, you have all these guys, you have this whole entire team after the performance you put on last year, where the only real weakness was that they didn't have a front line starter, and they go and get one, and they're still not as good as they are. Like they're still, I don't want to say average, it's just like they're still underperforming, not living up to expectations.
Yeah.
And a team like the Rays is just taking that crown from them, and it's like, how can we let this team not spend as much with a fourth of our payroll completely just dominate us? It's like we have all this money. It's like, well, money doesn't buy wins. So,
amen. Yeah, I think shook's a really good way to describe it because I feel like the source of all of this is things that happened years ago and like an overall general like pitching philosophy that the Rays had of just throwing high and tight. And then like the Yankees were pissed off at that. And then it seems like that was like the source of the thing that was behind it, even though some pitchers were throwing in other matchups that the Rays and Yankees had this week. But I think shook is a good way to describe it because it's just the Rays are not even their like little brother. And like they're just getting punched in the mouth by him. And I think 2 things that I don't know if we mentioned yet that were interesting. One, the Rays manager last night at the press conference just being like, oh, and like I want the Yankees to know that I have a stable of arms that can throw 98 too. And like I don't play professional baseball, and I was scared. I was like, oh,
that was boss.
He's coming at me.
That was so baller.
But even more baller is this. The Brosseau, whatever his name is, the guy that got 101 over his head, hit a home run first at bat tonight.
Pimp shot too. He was staring it down.
Yep. He did like Sammy Sosa trot down the line.
I love that. I love that so much. That's like the unwritten rules thing we were talking about when Tatis hit the granny, and then the next day, San Diego Padres hit another grand slam. It's like, take that for data. Like,
yeah, and I think definitely like something to keep like our eyes on. I mean, it'll be awesome if these 2 teams like face off in the playoffs.
Definitely, be interesting. I mean, I thought it was, you know me, guys. I don't like the Yankees. Anytime they get into a scuffle like that for doing something stupid like that, I think they deserve to be hit. But the way Brosseau, I don't know how to pronounce his name, hit the home run tonight, that was pretty fun to see. Pimped it off. Little Sammy Sosa sidestep down the first baseline. It was good to see. But in other baseball news, a certain top prospect made his MLB debut last night. He tallied his first hit, He tied the game with his first home run late in the game after a rain delay, which kind of, I'm assuming, gives you guys a little reminiscent of a Pedro Alvarez, home run out of the rain delay a couple years ago. But I mean, you guys are the Pirates fans. Break this down for me. I mean, we've been waiting to see this guy for, I can't remember, like probably 2 years, year maybe, for most of this year. So I mean, what's it like to kind of actually have this guy finally up on the major league in the major league team with the Pirates?
The biggest win of this season, that's for sure.
Could be second, but we'll find out at the end of the year.
I mean, I think the hype around him was, like, obviously, like, defensively. Like, John Wayner, whatever you think about the guy, he said he was thinking that he's already, like, the total package coming in, and is already coming in with, like, gold glove abilities at third base. So, like, that for me was like, holy cow, like, let's check this out. And
I saw comparisons to Brooks Robinson. Like, I saw people were trying to compare him to Brooks Robinson, and that's like the best defensive third baseman to ever play the game.
Yeah, but it sounds outlandish and outrageous, but he's one of two players in Major League Baseball history, and I mean Major League Baseball history, to win 3 Gold Gloves in the minor leagues. He's one of two people. So, I mean, it's really not that crazy. And I understand it's Wayner, and it's like, okay, what about guys like Arenado? What about Matt Chapman? Like, those are two, in my opinion, the two best defenders at the position. It's like, Brian Hayes is probably already 3 and could potentially be better than them when he starts to actually hit the ground running. I know last night he has, but it's really not that crazy to say.
Yeah, and it's just like, so going in, like, that he's going to make an immediate impact there. And even just in a debut, it's so exciting to see a guy not just, like, get a hit, but not just get a home run, but do it after, like, a really long rain delay too. Like, I think last year, wasn't that Cole Tucker hit a home run in his debut game, and now having Hayes do it too. But Hayes is like the first, I mean, definitely correct me because I could be wrong, the first prospect coming up for a while where the Pirates' tone was hope and not sort of more shorter term. So, like, having a guy like this to immediately plug at third base and just have a guy that's a premier fielder is going to be huge, and it's going to add, like, a little bit of a spark and excitement too. Like, the run that he scored on him being at third base, it was a ground ball in the infield, and he just bolted in, has some good legs on him. Yeah, I'm excited. It gives me, like, something to have more skin on too when I'm watching the game. To check
yeah, like, now that he's up, I'm invested. I'm invested back in the team, and it's only because I want to see what he does. And he's the kind of guy where, like, okay, I can tune out during the pitching, but it's like, no, I want to see this guy field because that's what he's known for. So last night he went 2 for 5, and I watched his first 2 at-bats. And, the first one, he kind of just knobbed off the end of the bat, pushed it to right. But the way he swings, it's kind of like Javi Baez without as much torque and without as much ferocity, which I really like. I think Javi got a sweet swing. I just think that he's a psychopath in the box, but I digress because he's also a 30 homer, 100 RBI guy. So, I actually missed his first hit, but I saw the replay and it was an absolute missile to left. Now the home run, I watched that live, and let me tell you, I could not believe what I watched. Like, I was ready to go to bed until I saw on Twitter that, hey, Pirates are resuming at 11:15. I'm like, it's almost 11. I was like, I can stay up. Let me at least see if he's going to bat. Turns out he was first, and I'm like, oh, this is dope. After this, I can go to bed. Nope. I was invested again. After he hit that home run, I was like, no, I got to watch him field. And he had one rookie mistake. And I don't even know if you can call it a mistake because he got it out. I mean, it's 100% a mistake. But so Chris Bryant was on third, and a ground ball got hit to him with 2 outs. Chris Bryant was kind of like watching him, and then he sprinted home. And Bryant with 2 outs, instead of trying to throw out Javi at first, he threw out Bryant at home. It's like that's a complete wrong play to make. You're lucky Stallings is paying attention, and you're lucky you got the tag on him. And he knew it. He thought there was 1 out. When he's running back to the dugout, he started cheesing. I was like, all right, that's a rookie thing. But it must be another sick play though too. Earlier in that inning, Chris Bryant nubbed one off the bat, and he's sprinting down the line, and Cabrine barehand just launches it over there, and he barely didn't get him out. Is like, he's must-watch TV, honestly, at third base, and it's nice to see. Now, the defense is his calling card, but what's his back going to be?
Mm-hmm.
I think his ceiling. I say ceiling. I think his ceiling's 20-25 homers, but I think he really makes his money if he can get a 280 to 300 batting average type play. Like, I think that's where he's gonna. I think that's how he should make his career.
Okay. All right. So
one more thing. He's the first guy to give me hope since Garrett Cole. And I'm not talking about Glasnow and Meadows. They were already good and good-ish, and it's like, okay, what can these guys be? Then they weren't here as long, so it was kind of like tough. Like, Brian's here to stay, and it sucks because like I had hopes for Glasnow and Meadows, but when they drafted Brian Hayes, I was like, well, he's this great third baseman. As far as I'm concerned, I've never seen the Pirates have a great third baseman in my entire career. I think the best one that they had was maybe Joe Randa.
That tells us all we need to know.
Ramos, maybe. I don't know. I thought Pedro was going to be that dude, but it wasn't him. It's like they've never had a good third baseman whatsoever.
Yeah, now, Gonzalez has flashed some nice leather recently, too. So on that side of the infield, you're having extended range.
Mm-hmm.
What we were looking at a few months ago will be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I must say, last night was a win-win. For Brian Hayes, great debut, and they also lost. Continue that stack up them L's, baby. Kumar Rocker, don't lose sight of the freaking goal.
Yeah, let's not forget.
Why we're here in the first
Red
place.
Sox.
Why we're here in the first place. Kumar Rocker sweepstakes.
We'll see who gets there.
We'll see you, nerd.
Who gets that first pick.
Have fun with Jack Leiter, who I'd also take, by the way.
Genuinely, have fun.
So there was one more question I wanted to ask you guys. We kind of talked a little bit about it in the pre-production, and it's kind of an interesting circumstance, an interesting kind of topic, because Mike Trout has been dominating the league since he came in, since his rookie year, and Fernando Tatis is kind of coming up as possibly the next face of MLB, given his talent this season and his success and everything. But the ESPN released an article earlier today. Which player would you rather have for the next decade? Mike Trout, who is he's going to be like 28 now, right? 28. So he'd be 38 by the end of the decade. And then you got Tatis, who's I think is only like 20, 21. So he's going to be under, like 30 years old. Who would you rather have for the next decade? Mike Trout, Fernando Tatis.
Can I have both? I don't know.
Tatis is 21, by the way. That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
Fact checking.
Yeah. No. I get
it. I think there's like a short list of people that I would take over Mike Trout. And how old is you said 21?
Yeah.
He's 21. Trout is actually 29.
All right. So there's a very short list of people, maybe even just him. But I think I'll just go with Tatis, just looking at the scale of growth. I mean, even though Mike Trout could very well just continue to get better, the rate of what we've seen Tatis do at age 21, I would just regret passing that up. So it's a horrible decision to have to make, but I would probably go with Tatis. I feel like that ceiling, we haven't seen anything close to it yet. Hardly. So I'll ride with that.
Yeah, I think the easy answer here is Tatis, just by the age and see what he's accomplished so far. At this age, like you can only expect him to get better, and he plays a premium position at shortstop. You know, and it remains to be seen if that's where he's going to stay. You know, when he gets older and continues to fill out his body, but right now he's easily the most exciting shortstop in the game. I think it's a no-brainer that you take Tatis, but I will say this about Mike Trout. If you do go the Trout route, there's only one reason.
Trout route.
I try not to laugh when I say it. If you do go the Trout route, the reason why you do go Mike Trout is to see how good, where's he going to end up. It's not like what he's going to be because you see what he is now. It's like, all right, he's easily one of the greatest players in this game, but it's like how much greatness does he have left? Like when it's all said and done, like how high is he going to climb on that proverbial ladder of greatest players of all time? It's like right now watching Albert Pujols. Like Pujols, he obviously doesn't have a lot of years left, but you know, right now his biggest thing is passing Willie Mays, and he's you know, and he's accomplishing all of these feats like the RBIs, 2,000 RBIs. He's like almost a 300 career hitter. It's like he legitimately is one of the best hitters that baseball has ever seen, and he's doing it in an era that is, you know, marred by steroids. And here's a guy that was not. You know, he's like, to me, he's like Griffey, like he's never been caught. So it's like, you know, he has that kind of standing. Like he's avoided injury. He has a World Series. He has multiple MVPs, including being out Barry Bonds. So it's just things like that when I think about Mike Trout. It's like, okay, you see Pujols and where his career is and where he's like ending up. Like, where's your ceiling? Like, where do you end up? Are you a 500 homer guy? Are you a 600 homer guy? Like, how many you got any Gold Gloves left? Like, what kind of stolen bases? Like, average RBIs? Like, what's your WAR? Because WAR is the biggest thing I think for him. Like, what's your wins above replacement? So where's that going to end up? So
I think the biggest thing with Trout is like he's not like I wouldn't consider him the same as like Pujols because like I feel like he's a different body type. Like he's not like, you know, he's one of the best hitters of this generation. And he like I think he's always going to be able to hit. Like I don't think he's going to hit that slump that Pujols has kind of towards the end of his career, like when, you know, like when he signed with the Angels and things like that. He kind of dropped off the radar a little bit. Like I think Trout is always going to be up there. It's just a matter of the impact he has on the rest of the game. Like, is he always going to be able to play Gold Glove defense like he has since the beginning of his career? You know, is he always going to hit for power? Like, I think he'll always hit for contact. It's just a matter of, you know, how his game changes as he gets older. But I mean, like you kind of said, Tatis is, I think the best way to describe him is electric. I mean, he stole third base the other 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about it. Hit a grand slam. He's playing for the love of the game. He's making it fun. And like he's a second-year player right now, and he's near the top of pretty much each hitting category.
He's already better than his dad.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think you can go wrong, but I mean, like you guys said, I feel like the easiest pick to make would be to go with Tatis because he's younger and he has,
especially if you're starting a franchise. Like at that point, it's like it's no brainer.
Yeah.
Like it's not at that point for starting a franchise. It's not okay. Is it Tatis or Trout? It's like, no, is it Tatis, Acuna, or Soto? Like those are the guys that you compare that to. So
yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like basketball when you're faced with a question, who would you rather start a franchise around, like Zion or LeBron? When LeBron's, you know, almost 39 years old, like he's one of the greatest players of all time, but he's also probably got 3 years left in the league. So like, you know,
I'm not gonna say 3. I'm gonna say 5.
Yeah,
but he has 3 maybe at an extreme high level. So. And now I don't think the question's Zion. I think it's Luka. But We'll save that for the basketball pod. There's no basketball.
Which is something we need to bring to thoughts. We need to bring that to thoughts. I mean, that was kind of all the stuff I had for you guys tonight. Baseball is, we got about, I think, a month left in the season or so. And it's coming down to the nitty gritty. We got a couple weeks left. Playoffs are upon us. And excited to kind of see how it all plays out. And you guys got anything else?
I think it'll be cool, like the last half or like the last week of the season with 8 playoff teams in both leagues. Like, you're just going to have a lot of teams that are like just there that you're like, holy cow, how do they deserve the playoffs? And it's going to be like, make for an exciting last day, like very similar to like the NFL, where you got teams that are needing a bunch of these scenarios to get in, and there's a whole bunch of different flip-flops. So that's what I'll be looking for. That'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to the race. I'm looking forward to see who, the division races, the MVP races, the award races, things like that. Definitely look forward to that and see what's up. A team like the Marlins, I'm now fully a fan of. If they're going to go and buy Sterling Marte, cool, I'm a fan of. Although their outfield's pretty funny because they have him, they have Matt Joyce, and then they have Corey Dickerson.
No, that sounds familiar.
It does sound very familiar.
Who's one of their catchers?
Pittsburgh South. Oh, Francisco Cervelli.
What is it, 2018 right now?
I don't know, man. All I know is this is crazy. Like, the fact of the matter is that Jeter just saw the 18 Pirates. Is like, I saw a lot of potential in them. Let me go out and buy them.
In that case, let me go get Chris Archer, too.
Bring him back down south. All right, guys. Good talking to you. We'll see you guys again in the next episode of Heart of the Order. Till then, I don't know. I need like a sign out phrase. I gotta come up with one.
This is Max signing off.
Stay classy, San Diego.
I'm talking to you, Padres.
Oop.
Slam Diego.